Hey friends, it's Emma here. It's Tuesday, December 7th. Welcome to the Missions Changed My Life show by Global Hope India with your host, Kevin White. This is the podcast where we say yes to God's call to finish the task of the Great Commission. Thank you for subscribing, reviewing, and sharing the show. Kevin's newest book, Get to the Point, was an instant international bestseller. Get to the Point is available worldwide in paperback,
hardback, ebook, and audiobook.
It is a practical guide for passionately pursuing God's presence. Every guidance and provision you will ever need can be found today in the presence of God. Visit globalhopeindia.org to read and gift Get to the Point and Kevin's first book, Audacious Generosity, today. Okay, now here's your host, Kevin White.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Missions Changed My Life. This week is very special as we wrap up 2021. We have kicked Kevin out of the studio, and Justin and I are taking over to share some highlights from 2021. And at the end, possibly next week, we will talk about 2022 and all the exciting things to come. But we want to give God the glory for this year, and we have tried to keep you guys up to date with what's going on in GHI in India through social media and our podcasts like this one and emails. And by word of mouth, we've gotten to see some of our friends this year, which is exciting.
Yep.
And so we just want to quickly go through some of the highlights in 2021. And so
let's go.
Let's start out with just our mission, which is that more people would have access to know Jesus, specifically in India, where right now Christianity is not the number one religion. But this year we kind of saw a change in the hearts of people across India and their receptiveness. While many people have persecuted Christians, and that is still a reality that many of our church partners have faced. This year, we've seen more people open to just receiving the help from the church and even asking for prayer, which is new. So why don't you share a little bit about what our partners have experienced just in the last year?
Yeah, in the last year, it was hard for everyone and even across the world and especially in India. Yeah, so the COVID was crazy out there, and so they needed a vaccine, and so we could able to provide the fund for the vaccine, and then a lot of the partners could able to help with the churches, and then even the church members and the neighborhood, even the non-Christian. So a lot of people came for the vaccine. Some of them they turned into Christ, and so that's very exciting, and that's how we. Like especially our mission is to access, so even that's a lot of people now, we heard that they become a Christian, and so that's very exciting.
Yeah, so while 2021 seemed to be healing time for us in America and the Western world, 2021 was very hard in India as they faced a second wave. And right now there's even talk of a third wave as we enter into the cold and get past the rainy season. It's going to be colder. And so our partners were very grateful for all of your support. And through the COVID-19 Relief Fund, we were able to bring vaccines and pay for vaccines for so many people, hundreds of people. And why don't you share a little bit about Pastor Chu and Pastor Chi and just how they affected their community just by their witness?
Yeah, so it's in the community. It's it's in rural area, and so a lot of people want to get a vaccine, but they're not able to get it. And so they did, like Pastor Achu and Achi, the family, including the family and relative, they host a big community. It's like a vaccine center, COVID vaccine center, and a lot of community came there, and then they get vaccines from there. And so it was not easy because everybody it's not trying to expose with, they don't want to come close and talk to them, but as they are giving the vaccine and providing a lot of meal and even the grocery, and they could able to share the gospel as well.
Yes, and all of this was not easy for them. While all of our partners, which is a huge praise God moment. All of our partners across India are healthy and they are sustained, and but they did lose family members and friends, just like many of you have, and so Pastor Chu and his wife Achi, they have gone through grief many times over even the past few months with her sister,
and the niece
and other relatives passing. And even while they are saying, "Hey, we need to get vaccinated," they're also grieving. But for the most part, everyone that is in their community is now vaccinated, and they're seeing lower numbers, which is huge. And so yes, all of our partners have kept in contact with us and have kept us updated, and many of them have been on Missions Change My Life podcast sharing. But Pastor B in Chennai and the churches there, I believe there's 26 churches that have been planted from this ministry that God put in Pastor Bernard Shaw's. And if you haven't heard that episode of just how God redeemed him, it's amazing. But they have still been able to minister and have even more of a reach in Chennai due to the effects of COVID.
Exactly. That's so many people. They don't want to go out of the house. So scared, and everybody was living in fear. And so even in the midst of that, the pastor and the wife and the family, they and the team, they didn't even have transportations. But they just like hire some taxi, and they just go out to the places, and then a lot of the baptisms and down in the villages, and even the free medical clinics,
the eye clinics, and they've given out glasses, and and we have gotten at least once a month reports of baptisms happening around that area of just people choosing Jesus in this time. And so we are really encouraged just by our partners' faith and their availability and their willingness to just keep going, even in the midst of them not even necessarily knowing how their next meal will come in this season. Another partner is Pastor S, and his ministry has just, I would say, it's grown just because the people he's ministering to are stuck at home. He and Pastor Raja introduced us to a leper colony that they still go faithfully minister to, and these were the untouchables. I mean, these are the least of the least, the physically, like in biblical times, the lepers were. And even now with education, we know that we can't get a disease from touching them, but and they're still kind of cast away. And so Pastor S is able to just continue his ministry into widows and to a lot of the older community members that can't make it to church or have no access to technology to log into a church service. They are faithfully going door to door to door and ministering.
I love that how the God used them, even in the midst of the COVID, and the people, they welcome them in their house. That's just amazing, because the people in India, that's not possible. And that I can tell that God was with them, and that the way they share and the way they share the gospel is just like incredible. It's not only the sharing the gospel, but even loving on them, and then providing the meals and the grocery, and that's how they minister during the COVID.
Right, and they are seeing the evidence of the seeds that they are planting through getting to baptize the same people that did not know Jesus maybe a week, a month, a day before, and then they are pulling them up out of the water, and they are proclaiming Christ. And these village people are now telling their family and their friends, and Jesus is being spread because Pastor S and many of our partners did not stop going when the doors closed of the church, when the pandemic hit. They said they need us now more than ever. And so they asked we were able to provide masks and hand sanitizer just to keep our partners safe so that they could continue, because the need didn't stop. If anything, it grew.
It's all because of you, because of your generosity, and because of your giving, they could able to reach out to a lot of people, and even untouchable places. And so it just like, so thank you.
And as these new believers are being baptized, they are getting to be given a brand new Bible in their native tongue. How many languages would you say are in India?
I don't know. It's over thousands.
Right. Yes. But there are some main languages that we can go based on regions. And
Right.
so whenever you give towards the Bible Fund, we are not mailing Bibles. We are not mailing English Bibles to
Right.
India. Our partners are able to have Bibles printed or to buy Bibles in the native language of the people they are baptizing so that they can read it and not
Right.
have to have it translated or look it up. But it will speak to them directly.
Yeah, it's exciting, like the how the pastor, even the partners, not only in this area, but like across the in India, that we have partners that they send us the messages, or even in mail, hey, we need more Bibles.
Yeah.
We need more Bibles.
Yes, they have
And
been
so-
asking. Yes, in 2021, it is. Yeah, as the church is opening and as there's more receptive, families are using the Bible. And when one person gets a Bible, many times the entire family shares that one Bible.
Right.
So while we have multiple Bibles sitting around our homes or in our car,
Yeah.
this one Bible means so much to them. It is truth. It is life in their hands,
Exactly.
many times for the very first time. So it is
Yeah.
just so amazing, so powerful, and it's something that we often take for granted. But for $3, maybe $4 now, you can give someone a Bible.
Oh, yeah.
How important. So I encourage you right now, if you are beginning to think that way, just remember that you can put a Bible in someone's hands, and that our partners across India need them, and they're asking for them. And it is something, I don't know how you can go wrong with giving someone a Bible.
Yeah, it's exciting that how they ask in the Bible. It's just like, yeah, we didn't take it serious over here. Like
Right.
now we have our own phone and we can download the apps. But now they didn't have those kind of electronics, smartphone, and so they cannot access to that. So they
Yeah.
need their own Bible, and then we are so like fun and excited to fundraise for the Bible, and then and a lot of people are giving for the Bibles.
Yeah, yeah, it's been exciting to be on our end of just
Right.
getting to share of the fruits of the labor, and hopefully you're encouraged by it as we are.
Right.
One way that we got to start off 2020 was with a huge donation from North Carolina Baptist Convention, and
Yes.
that helped fund water projects in Chennai and Hyderabad and in Manipur.
Manipur,
And so we are just very grateful for them. And we actually just got to finish a couple weeks ago Morrisville Family Fun Fest, which was our first
Yeah.
community event that we had since 2019.
2019, right?
Maybe, yeah, 2019 because of the pandemic. And so it was exciting to get to go into the community and see old faces and meet so many new faces,
Yes.
and just raise awareness for clean water in India.
It's so exciting though. It's like it's in the Morrisville community, and a lot of Indian lives here, and so like I call it like a more Indian community. And then it's at the event. It's like at the end of the event, it's like only a lot of Indian families and the kids, and they play the bingos, and just like one of our board members, she was leading the bingo, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like." I feel like I'm in India,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, I remember her saying that.
Yeah, so it's so grateful that how we brought this event brought together as a community,
Right.
and even some of the Indian they start giving for the water project in India. So,
Yes, yeah, it is no small thing that we are planted in what some people call Little India of North Carolina, or even on the East Coast. There's such a heavy presence of Indian nationals
Right.
that live here, and so our event, our community event in America, was probably the same amount of Indians that
Yeah.
it would be, and so it's just really cool how it's full circle, and we got such great feedback from the people that were there that didn't even know that this ministry and this organization exist.
Right.
And they were grateful, and they wanted to know how to give and how to be involved. And so that's I guess that speaks to our hearts. And thank you. Like, please join us
Yeah.
on this mission. And so as we start talking about 2022, you'll hear our hearts and just asking you to join us on this. We want to share what we have been encouraged by and what we are benefiting just from getting to do this for a job. It is very exciting that we are getting to just see God move, and we hope that in this podcast you are able to hear that everything we are saying we could not have done, our partners
Yeah.
could not have done. It only happened because God ordained every single step.
That's true.
And he has taken a pandemic that was meant for evil and he turned it for good. and he's
I love
continuing
that.
to do that, right?
Right.
Yes, and we will even now as we move into talking about on this side GHI and the organization and our own personal successes. Yeah, it's just been a year of God showing who He
Year of
is.
blessing and year of access,
Yes, yeah,
Uh-huh.
access, yeah, and
Right.
even changing our mindset from saying, "Oh, we need to make sure that people in India know Jesus," to we need to help all Indians know
Right.
Jesus, even
Yeah.
the ones here, and seeing how God has planted us is really exciting. And so, one of the key fundamental parts of our organization is our board of directors. And we were able to have a board meeting. I think it was one of my favorite yet. It just seemed like everyone is so friendly
I
and
know.
just we know each other.
Uh-huh.
It was a great time. But this year we got to have a board retreat, and maybe that's why, because we all sat through
I know.
hours of just getting to
That was
think
exactly
and
like
vision.
we used to have the board meeting in person, like in past 2 years ago.
Yeah, now it
You
has
know?
been on the computer
Right.
until this year.
So the
Yeah.
board retreat was amazing.
It
Like
was.
it felt so good to come back together as a team. Strong, we came back strong.
Right.
And all the board members were so united, and they started talking about 2022. And
Right.
it's so
Yeah,
exciting.
and Justin and I have the privilege of getting to sit in on the meetings,
Right.
but not have to make any of the decisions or have to weigh in some of the things that they do. And when we say that our board of directors truly cares not only about the organization, but the mission, the why, the people that are lost, the ones that have never heard about Jesus,
Right.
it's so, I guess, powerful to be in that room. And I wish that we could record a board
know.
meeting so that you can see that there's people behind the scenes that are praying, that are planning, that are envisioning, that have already said, we're going to go to India in 2022,
Yes.
and we are believing that.
Right.
And so we get to just ride on the tails of their prayers in a way. Each day as we work, and so we are thankful for them and for
Yeah.
just 2022 with our board, and we have added 3 new board members, Timzilla, Hunter, and Dr. James.
Dr. James.
And we have a couple that are rolling off, or that are rolling off this year, and a couple that are staying. And so I'm sure we'll introduce new board members if you haven't met them already. And we are just thankful to the board members that have spent many years guiding Global Hope India. And
Yeah, I love our board members, and
Yeah.
I love how they the love that they have for India. It's just so strong, and whenever we met, whenever like I'm from India, I'm from India. Just as soon as they see me, it's like, we start talking about India.
Yeah.
Started talking about India, and then what's the plan, and the GHI, and then it's just so fun to communicate and so fun to talk about. And they are many of our board members already been to India multiple times, and so that excites me to have our board members together.
Right. Yes, yes. And so another person who is present in the board meetings and in our daily lives as our boss, as
Right.
our leader, our fearless leader, he also released a book. We're speaking of Kevin because he's not here, and he'll have to listen to this when you do.
Right.
Yeah, so he released his second book, which is Get to the
Get to the
Point.
point,
Yeah, that released a couple days before Morrisville Family Fun Fest, and
That's
it was
true.
huge. Yeah, we both, at least I finished it. Are you going to be honest? Have you finished it?
Not yet, but definitely, of course.
Don't be a Justin, be a Kourtney. Finish the book. Listen
So-
to it on Audible.
Yes, the first book is like a thicker. The second book is like half of it, even not, maybe probably half of it. I told him that definitely I'm gonna read this. Because I'm not a book reader.
An avid reader.
So, but this smaller books, it's gonna be definitely, I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna read.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a great plug to the
Yeah.
half readers that are listening. But it is an easy read, and it's very practical. And so we encourage you to read it. And we
Yeah.
are just thankful that we got to walk alongside Kevin and just see his faith play out as God truly used him and ordained a lot of steps behind the scenes to where this book was able to be released. And he has another book that we'll be talking about in 2022 and
Yeah.
probably the next year after that. And so it's just really cool that we are kind of on the front row of getting to see our board of directors, our executive director, our donors, our partners in India, and we just get to pass the information back and forth.
Yeah.
And you just get to listen to us do it.
We love
So
working with
thank
him.
you
Yeah.
for listening to our podcast. That's another huge feat. We are on year 2 of podcasts, of weekly podcasts of Mission Changed My Life and the Kevin White Show. And we have seen so much growth. I believe Kevin knows these numbers, but I believe that this podcast is airing in 133 different countries. And we could not have imagined, we can't send letters to 133 different countries, but you can listen to us. And so God is giving us new platforms in 2022 that, and even through the pandemic, that has just expanded our reach far more than we could have done just from Morrisville, North Carolina. And so it's just been really cool to see God grow us.
Yeah, there are a lot of good things happening, and then the podcast is so much fun. And then on the top of the books, so the third book that we haven't mentioned about it yet, but the third book is I would say this is gonna be one of the best book for me.
Yeah.
It's like, What's Your Word? I love the title of it. It's just so good I can't wait to read this one. I can't wait to read. Yeah, I just love
That's
the title
saying a
of
lot coming from Justin.
I know, right? Yep. Shouldn't expect me to say that, but yes.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
just from hearing how Kevin is sharing about it, and even how he came to learning the message in his own life, it sounds like it will be a very timely and just needed book and a resource for knowing your mission, your why, your word that defines why you're doing what you're doing, so that you can remember that.
Yeah,
but
there will be few versions of it, like a business version. And then
it's very, it's fluid, as in it can be used in the workplace, in an e-group, in your family, in your own personal life. And we don't want to take the words out of Kevin's mouth. We'll let him do all that promo and tell you more. So stay tuned for many weeks to come, because we have a lot of exciting things coming up. And so why don't we finish out talking about how we're ending the year as an organization. We are in a zero deficit, which business lingo means we're doing pretty well. God has sustained us. We're not going into next year begging for the next thing, but we are just holding our hands open, saying, here you go, God, use it. Because we couldn't have imagined what 2020 would have brought, or 2021. For our partners, for ourselves. You have had an amazing 2021.
I know.
With
I'm
Arts
so
by
grateful.
Justin. And I mean, we just shared in staff meeting that you are finally slowing down for maybe a month or two.
Right.
For
the
art shows.
Yeah, it's been a great blessing, and it just like, I didn't even expect, I don't even believe like how it turned out, and it brought me so far, like the shows, and this month I've done, probably this year I started at the end of June, the art show, and then I think probably I've done maybe 11 or 12 art shows for this
in
year.
a couple of months. That's exciting, and that's just the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You are now becoming established, and so I'm sure you'll be booked in 2022.
Wait. Yeah, I can't wait for 2022.
Yes, and so we will end the year with a year-end offering, where we are just asking that you would make your best donation to Global Hope India. I hope that in listening to all that God has done, it excites you for what's to come, and it makes you want to partner with our partners. As we've mentioned throughout the pandemic, we didn't close our doors because God empowered us to empower partners in India. So we didn't stop when we couldn't go to India.
Exactly.
In fact, as we see, God is, he molded us. He gave our partners 10 plus years of having teams so that they can repeat it, and they have grown, and they are excited for us to come back. But in order to do that, we are believing that God will bring in a strong year in offering, so that we are positioned to be able to send people to go.
Yeah, without your support, we can't take a team. We can't go to India. So we need your support and your love.
And every Bible that's been given out, every person that came to know Jesus was touched through GHI because of the people that have given, that have supported us, that have made the day-to-day run, that have kept us being able to communicate with you and share needs and prayer requests, and vice versa, and encouraging our partners and praying with them. And so we just thank you that you're listening to this, and just ask that you would prayerfully consider supporting us with your year-end offering. And So that is the update of what is going on in India. And we will have to come back next week to fill you in on all things stateside, Global Hope India, and what is happening in 2022.
We have more excited to share.
Yes. So make sure you come back for next week's episode of Missions Changed My Life podcast. See you then.
Thank you for listening to the Missions Changed My Life show by Global Hope India with Kevin White. Find the complete archive of all episodes at kevinwhite.us or subscribe for free through your favorite podcast player and never miss an episode. This program, copyright Global Hope India, all rights reserved. Each week, we bring you a message of how God uses missions to bring real and lasting change through Jesus Christ. Join Global Hope India again next week for Missions Changed My Life with Kevin White.